market is gapping to a new all-time high. And this is why we've bought the last 437 pullbacks. So, yeah, print, we're up here. So you can kind of see here was the quick down, and kind of on this trend line grinding higher. It's the initial reversal off the low. So 257.50. We start to come off a little bit for potential support. 257.40, 257.50. Right here. Also coincides with this creeping trend line from the last few days. Now IWM, look at this, gapping right to 150.50.
Curtis, take us home.
So it's taken, let's see, when did we first get there? 4th. So almost a month for us to potentially break out through this consolidation. It was interesting. We had a couple of pretty hard sell-offs in the last week coming into this, but if we consolidate this morning above 150 and then take out all-time high, you want to be long small caps because it has the potential to do something like that. Here's the perspective. This is trend up, went vertical, sideways, a little vertical again, in the consolidation period. Very impressive. All right, let's get started. So there's a lot of stuff in play today. I picked ones that I thought were suitable for people I'm talking to. Let's start with X. So X, after AKS got killed yesterday, X came out with good numbers. That's already failed up here at resistance in the pre-market. Doesn't mean it can't test that when the market opens. So it was 28, I think I took 28.80. This is this right here, top of this. It's basically 28.50 to 28.80 based on last week's resistance. And support probably coming into this area here. I mean, the numbers are really good. Sometimes that doesn't matter with a stock like this because they think about whether or not those numbers are sustainable over the next quarters going forward. Stocks like this generally just trade at a very low multiple. Commodity stocks. But people leaning the wrong way, right? Selling ETFs coming into earnings. They sold it. There's buyers here at 25. If this little sell-off that's going on right now in the pre-market continues, we have 27 as kind of our first real spot where I would look to see if people buy it. And then at 26.50. So let's zoom in. So here's the after hours reaction. Got up to 27.80. We came in this morning and took that out and made it to 28.50. Now it's below the after hours high. So if you're long this, you're starting to get a little bit concerned now. So first move is a flush down, gets back above 27, then gets back above 27.50. You want to be long. If it flushes down, doesn't have a good bounce, or it has a bounce and very quickly comes back down below 27, you know that they're just going to fill the gap for some reason, regardless of how good the numbers are. Very important to really focus on price action on a stock like this as opposed to what the numbers look like. Quickly gets above 28 on the open and starts kind of holding above this area here where it had trouble 28.15 or so in the pre-market, that would catch my attention, or move to pre-market high, and then 28.80. And we'll see after 10 o'clock, based on where it's kind of consolidating towards the upper part or towards this lower part, will maybe inform whether it can trend in either direction, or it could just end up staying in this range right here the rest of the day. We have the levels to pay attention to. ICPT. So this is a beaten down name that's not, when it's in play, it has pretty good liquidity. Normally it trades like 1 million shares a day, but when it got crushed from 100 down to 60 a couple months ago, or maybe that was 6 weeks ago, the volume was good. It was between 5 and 10 million shares a bunch of days. So let's take a look. So after it got crushed, it rallied back, and then it was consolidating below 70 for a while. Let's zoom in. It was having trouble here, 67-ish. So the revenues were okay. They beat the revenue numbers. In this case, they're not making any money yet, so it's kind of, they look at how much revenue is coming in from their drug in the pipeline. What caught my attention in just the release was the cash burn. I put on there was they went through 30% of their cash in the last 12 months. So they're obviously their revenues are going to have to pick up, or else that's going to be a problem. Since it bottomed, it's higher low, higher low, higher low. Use 64 as an inflection here in the open. It's holding above 64. You can look for a move up to 66, 67. Below, you want to look for it to come right back down. Support from the last couple of days. What did I put on the sheet? 62. It's like 62 to 62 and a half. And that is that. The next one is EVHC. This one's gapping down. Ooh, nice bounce. Only down 23% now. They cut their guidance in half. It was pretty disastrous. It's by far the most in play stock in the pre-market already. It's already done more than its daily volume at 3.5 million shares. And this bounce has been very clean. So it's already above the 2 spots that I thought potentially could be resistance based on the after hours action. So that's a good sign for it. Conference call must be going okay. It does bring this area back up in here into play. It's 34, 35. And just a lot of buying down here in the 20s. Starting to flatten out now. Let's go to a 2-minute. Okay, so there's a seller here at around 33.20, it looks like. And 32 is the first. We had this as a potential resistance. It's now just held it. So buyers are trying to maintain control still. But, I mean, really nice job, anybody who caught this bounce here. Got above 28 pretty quickly and then trended pretty cleanly to 30 and held 30 cleanly. Consolidated below 32, broke through 32. So now this is going to be the spot. 32 can hold and push here to 34. Starts to hold below 32, you look for the move right back down to 30. But don't get really bearish on it unless it starts to hold below $30. This is a lot of buying coming in here in a pretty nice size bounce, $6 bounce. So people are really interested in buying it down at those levels. The next one is DDD. And this is pretty wild ride. This one bottomed down at like $78 a couple of years ago. I remember shorting it in the high teens. They somehow got into the 20s. Now it's back down in the single digits again. Pretty sure I was shorting into these moves here as well. Here's where it bottoms. This is almost 2 years ago. Down at $6, $7. It's everybody who bought in the last couple of years now, including all these people here, are just completely crushed. $12 was what, a lot. It started to consolidate recently right at that 12 area. So now below 10, like 8.5 is in play. $8 is in play. And this is one of those where I could see, just like UAA yesterday, ended up closing at the low and could have some downside follow. This one could, even though it hasn't taken out the multi-year low, it's not good. Let's take a look. See what we need to see to change to more of a long bias. So, okay, so initial down took it to 985 in the after hours. This morning came in, it tried to bounce a little bit. I guess if it was above 1030, it was consolidating like up here and broke to the upside, I would think more about it on the long side. But now it's holding below. Now, I mean, the sellers have stepped down to 980. So, I mean, maybe like a quick pop on the open to the 10 area, a little bit above 10. You see it come off, get below 10. You want to see it get below the pre-market low, and then you just stay short it. Probably stops above here and here to see if it trends down. That would be the short play. And then EL, I put that on the end. I was debating whether or not to not put it on. I think it's an extremely difficult stock to trade. I've had a little bit of luck in it, trading it, but it's just, you really have to give it room. So first thing I wanted to point out is it's in a very strong uptrend, and the uptrend is accelerated. So my guess would be is that they're doing well internationally with their brand, maybe in China. I guess, within this channel from the last few years, it was in that, and then just recently kind of went strong, and now it's gapping, here, which you would think that there might be a little, well, initially there'd be some selling pressure on the open, but let's see. And 120 is a good area to judge it by. So pre-market high was 121.5. The way I would watch this is right on the open. Does it fail below 121? And if it does, and then starts holding below 120, I'd play it for a move, a few dollars to the downside, something like this. Just because it's a little bit extended right now. And see if it can actually consolidate above 116 over the next week. Maybe sets it up for a move to a new high. So that was my thought on that. LL yesterday, good example of something that I did not follow through with after I was off the desk. But the idea with this one, remember, was, well, here, let's look at it on the daily. So the idea with this one was it was gapping down a lot. It was bouncing. And when something gaps down a lot, it bounces into an area where people have just gotten long, some people will start saying, wow, holy shit, this thing was down a lot, I can get out. And they'll start selling it like back in this area here. And then some more people will start selling it. And then eventually a lot of these people will start selling it and it comes off, man. And it can lead to, well, it closed at the low. But anyway, I shorted at 35 on the open, shorted a little bit more, 35.70. And then when it started to come back down, that first quick down I covered, and then I left the desk, and I wasn't here for the hold below. Basically, we had 34, I think, as our kind of first resistance area. It got below that and moved sideways. And so this is probably, this is the little more aggressive, less conservative type trade. Here you had your lower high, and then here you had your consolidation below the key level we highlighted in the morning meeting. And it led to a $3, $4 down move. So it was very clean. I found over the years that's a pretty reliable trade. A stock that starts out weak, gets into rallies right on the open to an area where people were like, holy shit, maybe I can get some sales, and then other people start getting sales. So it was clean. I'm not sure if there's much more downside from here, maybe down to $30. And then I would look on the upside, 32.5 now. I'd be curious to see if it's sold here. But again, a lot of this, sometimes this reversal and really hard down doesn't have longer term implications because it's more a question of people who are nervous. They saw people who were like, oh, this wasn't, the numbers were fine. People came in and bought, but then when it got to that prior consolidation, enough people who were in from there start to sell. Then all these people who bought on the open start to lose faith. Then it comes right back down to the pre-market support. Actually closed below pre-market support. But very clean. I mean, we had two stocks that trended cleanly in the afternoon to the downside, that and UAA, which is our next one to talk about. In UAA, I think most people on the desk were shorted when it failed at 14. They initially looked like it was going to bounce. I played it long, got below 14. I gave everyone a chance, so you can't say you didn't have a chance to short it at 14. It came down to 85 cents. It popped back up again, 97 cents. And then that was it. I think there was a lot of money made off of this break right here. I saw Swang. We put on a big position on this. So this, I mean, anytime something's trending down, you have just an incredibly tight consolidation and it breaks through the low, you can get short. I mean, this is for this stock, for it to go 40, 50 cents in one move like that, for about a nickel's worth of risk. And there's no support. So let's look at it today. Look at this volume. I guess some people are really starting to buy it down at these levels, which is interesting. So there's a couple ways to look at this. Below 1250, you can be shorted. If it spikes above 1250, just because there was so much buying at the end of the day, you could look for a bounce back up to $13, or at least to 1288. And then if it somehow consolidates here and breaks to the upside, then 1330, where it had the big final down move from. So definitely okay because of the amount of money that was put to work right at the end of the day into this down move. People are thinking it's actually getting overdone now.
Hope you enjoyed that video. You can actually watch that video if you're subscribed to our Trader 90 before the market even opens. What stocks are in play? What levels in those stocks are important? And how we might go about attacking that stock. That's Steve Spencer, 20-year veteran trader, laying it out there every morning before the market even opens. A really, really powerful tool to start your session off on the right foot. So right now we're offering a trial that you can take advantage of to access this meeting and other meetings throughout the day. We have a meeting at 11 a.m. Eastern where you can sit down with Mike Bellafiore and listen to him talk about what's going on during the morning session, what stocks were in play, what the best trade opportunities were, as well as maybe some things that we're looking at heading into the afternoon session. So I really encourage you to take advantage of that trial.